Well, hello. Welcome to this episode. I am super delighted to be here with you this afternoon with my colleague,
Thank you.
thank you, with Jan, to share with you, fabulous, his secrets on growing his recruitment business. We were literally just talking about it and then we realized, oh gosh, we've got to go live.
Right.
How he has grown this business from a solo entrepreneur to, he just told me he's just hired 2 more people, to a 6-man team in 3 months. Yes, guys, just 3 months. So hold on to your seats because today is going to be one epic interview. So we're going to dive in. We're going to deep dive in straight away. So just going to do a quick intro. So Jan is the founder of a business called a Recruitment Specialist. They specialize in startups, so VC tech, e-commerce, and they find A-class players, A-star players for these startup businesses. So he's the founder of a business called Start to Finish, which specializes in those startups. Now, the reason that I wanted to bring Jan on is because, as I mentioned, he has done probably what so many people dream of. He has taken that business from being that solo recruiter on his own, working hand to mouth, 360 role, struggling to grow, knowing that he wants to grow, but struggling to grow just from the point of view there was no structure in place. Now, Jan has, in the last 3 months, doubled his revenue. So back before, 3 months ago, he was averaging 30K a month. He is now consistently averaging 60K. And this is just the start of things, as he will tell you, because as he just said to me, Katie, if I had more people, I'd be doubling that. And his goal is to get to 100 to 150K by the end of this year. So Jan, please tell us a little bit about your background. Just tell us a little bit about the business and where you've come from.
Yeah, thank you, Katie. First of all, thank you for having me, and hello everybody at home. So I'm from Germany. I lived in Frankfurt for the past couple of years, and I first started recruiting when I was a headhunter for banking and finance. I worked for an agency, and there was a typical 360 role, so 10 people in the office and all doing everything basically, with medium to moderate success. And after I realized after some time, I liked building businesses. I liked working with startups. And so I started as a freelancer. So I went into startups and just hired them people, was building by the hour. And it developed more and more from there to where I am today. Yeah, that's
Excellent.
a short intro.
All right, fabulous. So let's dive into what was happening for you. So let's go back 3 months ago to where you were then before we started working together.
Yes.
And tell us a bit about what was happening for you. What were the problems that you were experiencing that you wanted to change?
Right. So before I joined Rocket, my business was already somewhat growing. So I think I've always had an interest in sales and marketing. So that was there. But anything afterwards in the delivery, in the processes, in the team building, I was really struggling because I was just doing everything myself. And so even though it was growing, it just wasn't very enjoyable because I was building the business. I probably did 30 to 40 client interviews per week on top of sales calls, on top of all the admin stuff, the contracts, which I hate, like all the admin stuff. And so I was just really overworked, no process there, and not really knowing where to start. That's how it was when I joined Rocket. I had an admin manager before, and I think I had even hired a recruiter before, but she had not started yet. Was lucky, good fit. Even without the Rocket process, somehow managed to hire somebody good. But yeah, that was the situation beforehand.
Yeah. And so how was that impacting you personally and professionally?
Yeah, I mean, for one, I was just overworked. I just didn't have any time. Like was even during Corona, we had 2 little children. So I kind of went into the office at 8 or 9 in the morning, left at 6 or 7 at night.
Yeah.
And it was just full. It was basically like only meetings, interviews, emails. It was all over the place. And so the numbers were good and the results were mostly there as well. But I've always wondered, like, how did this happen? Like, and even took on clients and I didn't even work. Like I sold retainer, couldn't even work on it for 2 to 3 weeks because I was just so busy. So mostly impacted me personally. And of course, if you have to sell retainer, if you wait 3 weeks until you even start working on it, it can only go well for so long before before people start asking questions.
Exactly. So what were for you, what was that sort of catalyst? Like what made you think, okay, I've got to do something about this?
Right. It was that I wanted something else. I didn't quite know what it was, but I wanted more, and I realized this cannot grow more. Like, I don't know how to grow this thing, even though I like sales and marketing, even though there are clients there, even though we do have a good offering. Like, how do I actually grow this thing?
Mm, mm,
And I don't know if I would call it trust issues, but I had problems hiring a team. Like, I always thought I would never find somebody as good as me.
right. Right.
So I was really
Yeah.
hesitant, and even hiring like a freelancer with 5 to 10 hours a week for admin was a huge deal for me. And even though I hated admin, I still didn't trust anybody else to do it.
Yeah. And
So yeah,
yeah, I think people can relate to that, can't they? That sort
right,
of trust of, as an entrepreneur, particularly when
right,
you started on your own, it's your baby,
right,
you're building the business.
right,
That element of I know how I want the business to be branded. I know how I want my clients and my candidates to the experience I want them to have,
right.
and it's quite difficult, isn't it, to let
Yep,
go of that. Of that, that need. I say need, but you want to give a really good experience, and you're just petrified that is somebody else going to do it in the same way that I am?
right, exactly.
And if you
Yeah.
haven't got that in any kind of system, that's quite hard, isn't it? Because everything's in your head.
Right, it's all in your head, yeah. But at the same time, like it's funny because as difficult as it was before to let it go, like looking back after 2 weeks after people started, it's like, oh my god, why did I ever not do this? Why did I ever do this myself? And it's funny how it progressed, because in the beginning I always thought, man, I will never find somebody as good as me.
Right.
And then I realized, okay, I'll find somebody who might be half as good as me, and they work twice as much, and then they might be able to do 70% of what I can do, me. And then they start, and it's like, oh, okay, this might work. This has been okay so far. And then after a couple of weeks, it's like, oh, what has she been doing? This is actually really good. Like, this is better than I was doing before. And then a couple of weeks later, it's like, oh my god, what is she doing? Like, I don't even understand what you're doing anymore. But it's working brilliantly. I could never do what you do. You're so much
It's
better at your job than me. Like, I would have to fire myself if I did your job again. Like,
right.
and so it has been like this with every role that I hired, where I first thought, oh my god, nobody can do it, until I realized, man,
Yeah. And
I'm
that's
really bad at this.
and they're doing better. And that's a really interesting point you're making there, Jan, because what you were saying earlier was, previously you were looking for a 360 role, weren't you? When you were recruiting,
Right.
you were looking for
Yes.
somebody to fit that 360, that
Right.
perfect person, that
Right.
unicorn out there. And now, or you can tell us, and now you're not looking for that 360. These roles that you're
Correct.
looking for are slightly different positions. So tell us about what has changed for you. Like what
Mhm.
is it you implemented in the business? Yeah, tell us about the systems that you put in place that made the difference.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing, because when I only knew the 360 model, like somebody doing it all, and I always thought, when I read these old job ads, like people always thought I would grow my business by hiring somebody who then finds clients and does the delivery and does everything. And I
Yeah.
always thought, man, that's not really growing your business. That's just kind of hiring somebody to grow their own business, and you get a percentage. But if they want to leave, they'll take everything with them.
Hmm.
Plus, it's difficult to find people that can do everything. But no, so what we did also with your guys' concept was to basically say we will have different like machines. And so I decided to do all the sales and marketing myself. And so it's all centralized for us. So I did our first webinar last week. So we had 15 people there, plus like 44 reviews of the webinar afterwards. And so we get a couple of people, and somebody messaged me just today and said they're looking for like 10 people. Yeah,
Webinar.
so yeah, from a webinar, and actually big funded startup that has just been sold for millions. Yeah, so really cool. But anyway, yeah, since I do sales and marketing, I always look for recruiters then that only do the delivery. So we
Right.
only work with retainers, and so we charge 5,000 upfront, any search. Like otherwise, you cannot work with us. And so that's what I do. I do marketing and I sell retainers, sometimes even 7 or 9 per week. And so I just need somebody then to fill these roles afterwards.
Yeah.
And so I basically look for always hired recruiters that love working with candidates that don't love sales. And actually, it has been quite easy because a lot of recruiters really like candidates. Because I think it's always two kinds of people. Either the recruiters, they love sales and they're really successful, but they might be also responsible for a bad name of recruiting in front of a lot of people. But then there's the people that are great with candidates. They love the relationship side. They take care of their people. They call them every day and they love it, but they're not good at sales.
Right.
And therefore they get kicked out of any agency, which is a pity because they're so great with candidates and so great in their delivery. And so I only put out job ads that said recruiter without sales. And people loved it. They said, man, this is great. I've always looked for something like that. And yeah, it has been going really well. So
Fabulous.
basically like talent managers, that's what I look for.
Talent managers, lovely. I love that. And just on that, because I just picked up on a comment that you made there about, you're selling or you're talking to
Yes.
taking on like 7 to 9 retainers a week. How you're able to do that now because you've got people in your team, but how many were you taking on before when you didn't have those people in your team?
Well, still in some weeks it was still similar, but then again I had to wait 3 weeks to start working on all of them.
Right.
Like it's always in waves. Like I took on like I sold like 7 or 8 retainers and then I spent a month working on them.
So you can't actually get any more on. So it's
no, I couldn't, and I couldn't even work on them well. Like I was also lucky with a lot of placements I made, I think, and because they worked out quite well. But no, it's just really limited in my growth because I could not do more. Like it just wasn't possible. And I could have done a lot more sales, but I just didn't have people in the delivery. And I also realized, man, I love selling. So this is great. I can just sell retainers all day, but I don't necessarily want to fill them.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So you put people into these positions. So you're doing sales and marketing, and then just tell us, where are these people in positions? Are they doing resourcing, delivery, or both?
Yeah, they do both. So we do I think it's called the 240 model or Thor model, which basically means that we have sales and marketing on the one hand, and then the client work and candidate work on the other hand. So they're basically like account managers, project managers, talent managers. So I still do all the sales, and I do the reviews with our clients. Also in the rhythms that you guys taught us, like we are in touch with everybody on a regular basis, have these scripts for all the meetings we have with them to get recommendations and to get more leads and to get more jobs from existing clients. That has worked really well. And so our recruiters then, they're in the kickoff meeting. So we do a 1-hour kickoff meeting where we take on the job with everybody, not under 1 hour. And if people don't have time for that, we don't work with them. So we only work with clients who will invest the hour upfront. But again, if they've already paid us 5,000, they do invest the time. So it's all really connected. And so we take on the job together with me and the recruiter, and then they go to search for candidates. And since we do executive search on quite sometimes really high level when it comes to positions like head, C, VP level, then it has worked really well.
So this model will work really well for somebody, like you're saying, who's similar to yourself, who wants to do the business development, maybe has those contacts already created in their network. That's the part that they enjoy the most. But actually the part they don't enjoy is finding the candidates, and maybe some of the delivery process, but the sort of more of that side, so the resourcing and delivery, and actually really, really enjoy the BD so that you can be going out, being in flow and networking with clients. And like you're saying, that's really giving you more time. So how many more hours would you say you're now spending doing that business delivery versus the candidate piece that you were doing previously?
Yeah, I mean, I think before I probably did 30 hours a week of recruitment, and now it's probably down to 10 to 15. But again, I'm only waiting for my 2 new people to start because we have such long notice periods in Germany. So I have to wait between 2 and 4 months until the people I hire can start. But so on July 1st, next week, my new recruiter will start, and then I'll probably be down to 5 to 10 hours per week. And then September 1st, my other new recruiter will start, and then I'm down to 0.
Fab. So you can be spending all of your time doing that. What difference do you expect, or what have you projected that will make? Is that the figure that will get you to the 100K a month?
Yeah, because I can do the sales. And so it's basically between 2 and 3 retainers per week sold, or around 3, and that will get us to those numbers.
Yeah, wonderful.
And so yeah.
And we know that the market right now, and whether you're in startup, whether you're in tech, whatever your market, it is very ripe. I mean, I appreciate there are some markets that maybe aren't quite as ripe, but
Right.
certainly right now the market is ready, isn't it? I just
Yeah.
literally got off a phone call with a client based in fact, they're a multinational client. They're actually in Boston, in Texas, in
Wow.
LA, but they've also got offices in Germany, in Switzerland, in the UK, and Ireland. And he was saying, Katie, it is absolutely flying right now. You know, now is the time to be taking advantage. So this brings me nicely to what you were saying to me earlier about growth and how previously maybe you might have had a different outlook to the speed of the growth that you've achieved.
Yes.
Had you been, where you were previously on your own. So would you share with people what you said to me about that?
Yeah. So basically my goal was in the beginning of this year. I mean, last year I was still a freelancer. Then I started to work on on a retained level, still by myself. And then I was always between 10 and 20,000 per month. And then suddenly it got a little more. And I think then I joined Rocket. Oh yeah. And I wanted to get to 40K at the end of this year. So 40K per month with maybe one recruiter. And I thought, if I ever get there, that'll be brilliant. And so I said, okay, December 21. But yeah, then I joined Rocket. I hired my first recruiter and it hit 60 in March and April. So it was like whenever the first people I hired, revenues doubled in the next month, even though they hadn't even worked yet. Like I said, also a mindset thing. I just knew I was like free to sell more because I knew somebody could take care of the jobs now. So yeah, it doubled so fast. And then my first reaction was, oh no, I'll slow down now. This is too fast. This is not healthy. And seen so many startups that grow too fast. So let's take out the speed and wait until I feel comfortable growing, basically. I thought I was being cautious, but I think I was just a little afraid to actually grow. And I think it was in a call with you in one of our weekly calls where you basically said, no, just go for it. And so I said, oh man, I didn't want to do this, but all right, I'll just try. And so I hired 2 more people. And we're still at the 50 to 60K per month benchmark. But yeah, I'm only really starting for my new recruiters to start because we really only have one recruiter and I still do some recruiting myself. And so we do 50 to 60K between the 2 of us.
Amazing.
And so I know once I have 2 more recruiters, we will get to 150.
Absolutely, and you will. So we've got a great question that somebody's just asked, Jan. So they've asked, and first of all, they said amazing, so well done. May I ask, what was your strategy to hire these recruiters?
Yeah, so good question. So first, I always thought about what kind of people, like what is the job? What do they actually have to do? And I knew it was the delivery side. So I didn't want them to do any sales. I wanted actually to do that. I was good at it. So I only wanted people to do the delivery that loved working with candidates, interviews, get the requirements from clients. And then I thought further and I thought, okay, somebody like that, where could they be right now? And so I realized, okay, they're probably in a 360 role. Okay, then the 360 role, and I want people that love working with the candidates. How are they feeling? They probably hate it. Probably lots of pressure from sales, stupid KPIs, managers behind their backs telling them to do more cold calling. And so I really emphasized in the job ad. That's really I really emphasized, dude, I can sell retainers all day long. You can just work with clients and you can just work with candidates, find people jobs, talk to them, have a great candidate experience. And so I named the job ad, I think, Recruiter Without Sales. And I made it very clear we're growing. I sell retainers for you. You really only have to fill retainers. You do nothing else, only sell retainers. I get the clients, I make sure they're great. I make sure they pay 5,000 upfront. So when you get in touch with the clients, they will be on board, they will have signed, they will have paid 5,000, there will be a great company where people love to work. And all I need you to do is find really great candidates. And so I really look for people that hate recruiting because they don't like sales. And that was my approach.
And so on that, because people might think, well, that sounds great, you know, because they've got this flow of jobs. So what specifically though? Because like you said, there were things that you realized, wow, this person's like, you know, much better at me at this part of the job.
Yes.
So what are those sort of like skills, or what were the things that these individuals are doing that is making the difference for
Yeah.
you to, you know, for you to
Yeah.
find those like A-star players at finding candidates?
Right. So my first hire was a VA for all the admin stuff, because I realized this robs so much of my energy. I can do client calls all day long. I can do 5 or 6 hours of client calls and it doesn't bother me. But 1 hour of opening letters and I'm done. I need a vacation. And it sucks the energy out of me. And so I realized I need somebody for that. And so in the beginning, I really look for somebody with really strong and detailed admin knowledge about contracts. And so that's what I hired first. And then later, I look for caregivers when it came to recruiters. I wanted people who were like caregivers, not these people that are like very outgoing. These people like me, who are like very, very outgoing, networking, getting people hyped up, getting them involved, selling them. But people who are a little calmer and to just really have also high admin skills to do the processing, but at the same time, really good, that really appreciate people and want to take care of them. I want to help them, because I really realized if we want to be successful, I mean, I get the clients, but the candidates work by trust. They need to trust you as a recruiter, someone that really trustworthy caregivers. And so that's what I look for.
So they really are caregivers. And this person said, sorry, I don't know their name, so apologies. I can just see Facebook users. So Clever, he or she loves the title, and they're very similar to you, so they really appreciate your advice. So later, just also, what else has shifted for you? Because you mentioned about the model, but there's been some other things that you've implemented into the business that I know you said have been sort of like game changers for you.
Yeah.
Tell us what else has been really, a game changer, a move, a strategy that you've implemented that's made the difference for you.
Yeah, for example, on how to manage a team. Because when I was a recruiter, I was a senior recruiter, but I wasn't a team leader or anything. Like I think I was always good at being a leader, like emotionally, like I can get people involved and they like me and I'm a nice guy. But when it came to the management, to the systems, what do I do every week? How do I make sure every job gets filled? How do I make sure it gets filled this week? How do I know what people are focusing on? How do I talk to everybody on a regular basis? How do I want to make sure that everybody does the right things and not whatever they want? And that's when I implemented all the systems from Rocket. So for example, the certain meeting formats. So we have all these kinds of weekly meetings, monthly meetings, quarterly meetings, bi-yearly meetings. So we're implementing all of this now. We have KPI dashboards to where we realize, okay, you have to do X, you have to do Z. We even have that delivery. So we have so week 1, we always shoot out the message between 30 to 40 people. And week 2, we retarget people. Week 3, we see if there's enough jobs or enough candidates or not. And so, it just worked really well. And right now we're getting, in the delivery side, we get 51% response on first completely cold emails to candidates. And even now I just did a search still myself, which I don't love, but sometimes still have to do. I sent it out yesterday morning to 27 people and 17 already responded. And so that's just because of the processes and how we do it. So really everything changed, and most of all, I feel a lot better. Because it's not all done yet. There's still some work ahead, but I just know there's a path and it gets better and better. I mean, for myself, just very.
Absolutely. So you mentioned quite a lot there. It's really important about this is the whole sort of like performance management system. And I can relate to what you're saying, because I was definitely that person. You know, when I first started managing people, like you say, it was kind of more on personality that I managed people than actually what's the system and structure behind that, because people need to know where they stand.
Right.
And they need to understand what they're responsible for and accountable for. Otherwise, how on earth can we almost expect them to deliver what we want them to deliver? Because otherwise, you know, it's just, okay, we're having a nice time. So you mentioned there about putting some systems in place, structures in place, weekly meetings, like specific tools and techniques that you can put into place, KPIs. And again, what value have you found in using key success factors or KPIs
Mhm.
versus, perhaps because again, we're mavericks if we come from that sort of high billing role ourselves, and then we
Right,
move into management. We don't necessarily like those KPIs
right,
personally, so
right.
maybe we want to shy away from them. What have you found the difference they make?
Yeah, I mean, they're our best tool to find out if something's not working. We use the KPIs to figure out where it is. Like that's what we most for. We can just find mistakes that people make because mostly they're unaware, but we can really identify. Okay, we're filling less jobs. Okay, where exactly are we filling less jobs? Do we get enough leads? Do we get enough conversion? What's the conversion from leads to actual clients? How often are clients booking again? How many people are we approaching per week? How many people from that are we getting into first interviews? Like all of those KPIs. And so it's not this, oh, something's not working. We just need to do more. Everybody do more.
Oh,
But we know exactly where the problem is.
great.
And so we can just see, for example, right now we saw sometimes that the response rates with candidates went down. And so then we were able to see, okay, we looked through all the 10 KPIs. Oh, there it is. There's the problem. And of course, then we still need to figure out a solution. But you can just pinpoint the problem in your workflow right away.
I love that.
And
Great.
that's how it helps us the most.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
like
before
you've
we were just guessing.
it's got like, yeah, absolutely. And and then when we guess, it's very, very hard. Whereas when you know where the problem is, the solution almost comes out of the problem, doesn't it?
Yes, definitely. And it's a lot easier even with the team because they can see it too. And it's
Mm,
not anymore like, oh, this is your fault.
right.
But we see, okay, we have a problem here. What can we do to change it? Oh, let's try X, Y, Z. Oh, it changed. Brilliant. So it's really focused on activities, but it's not against people anymore. And that has helped and a lot. And
So this is good for you as the business owner. This is good for your team. This is good
yeah,
for problem solving. This is good for efficiencies.
right,
There is, yeah. So it's
right,
a win-win all round.
definitely.
So yeah, looking back, in this very, fantastic, like superb, very fast growth that you've had,
Mhm.
looking back on the Jan that is now to the Jan 3 months ago, what advice would you
Mhm.
give to that person, knowing what you know now?
To me, 3 months ago,
Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, the biggest thing, or even if it was, let's say, 4 to 5 months ago,
yeah,
I would say just ask somebody who knows how to do this. I mean, that's the one thing you can figure out all you want. And I think I could have done it all by myself in the next 2 years. Like I think I could have figured it out, but it would have taken 2 or 3 years and so many mistakes on the road and so much slow growth and so much missing out on sales and money and happiness. And so, yeah, just ask somebody who knows exactly what you need, and then they will tell you and they'll pay them and then tell you everything you need to do, and you just do exactly that, and it works. Like just look for somebody who has done what you've done before, because there's lots of these mentors out there right now, but a lot of them just haven't done it. And so, yeah, I would just say, just find a mentor and ask them what to do and do exactly that. And on a practical side, I would say systems and processes
mm,
is the big game changer. Just hire great people and trust them with their job, because we're fully remote. I mean, you guys saw my daughter. I'm at home, and my people are all over Germany. I don't see how they make calls. I don't see what they do. I don't know what they're doing right now, but the results are there, and they're really happy.
mm.
So yeah, trust to hire people. Trust that there's other people that are a lot better than you at a lot of stuff, and it's just more enjoyable for everybody.
Yeah. And like you say, you put those processes into place. So
Yeah.
whilst they might not be in the office with you,
Yes.
you have those systems and processes and those tools in place to actually know, don't you, and
Yes.
to support people. So, it's not that you're just hiring people and yeah, they're just going to go and get on with it. There's a
Right.
lot of infrastructure that you've put around that is making the difference where it comes to their success and their outcomes, isn't it? In
Right,
terms
and
of
they all have very clear goals for this week, for this month, for today. I'm very, very clear on what everybody should do, but then just let them do it.
and
And I
then
think mistakes that most other people make is no clear plan and then micromanaging. But I think
right.
it's great to micro plan, and then let them do whatever they want.
And manage.
Um,
Love it. Spin it around. Okay, so what would be your advice, your passing advice to anyone listening, another recruitment business owner who's listening right now, who wants to grow their business and but maybe they're a little bit unsure how to do that, what would be your passing advice?
The best thing is, I think, trust in yourself and your offering. Like, believe that you have a great offering, that you can really help your clients, and that you're worth more than what you charge. Because even now we charge a lot, but I still think I could charge 10 times more and it would still be a fair price because we do such great work. And I'm really convinced of that. So that's the biggest thing. And that makes everything easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So know your value, stick with it. And you did say actually right at the beginning, you were talking about the fact that, you only want to work with those clients,
Right.
who are committed. And you said, didn't you, that for you, that measurement was that investment from the client. So investment in time, making sure they have a 1 hour kickoff meeting with you, and investment in the retained assignment, giving you money up front.
Yes, and if you actually do it, it's kind of weird to actually follow through on it. Like, I think the plan always sounds great. Oh, we only work with great clients. But to actually do it, like just 2 days ago, I canceled a really good client. Well, they weren't actually really good, but they look really good on paper. Like a Swedish startup, huge, wanted to come to Germany. They asked us to work with them. I said, okay, we did a kickoff call with them. But then they were just terrible in their communication, quite rude. And so I sent them emails, said, hey, we're out. We don't work like that. Sorry. So they were a little surprised, of course, and it was difficult for me too to actually tell a client, sorry, we won't work with you. And then it was 2 like junior positions, and the 2 days afterwards, we got 2 other clients for like 3 times the money in total, and they're great, and they really want to work with us. They're super nice, and I think that's what, if you actually say yes to this, it does work. I mean, it still surprises me, but it does work.
Right, you're absolutely right. This is the thing, isn't it? It's actually you're allowing space then for those right clients to come in. Because if you say yes to a client that isn't right, energetically it's not right, but also, you're taking on something. How is that going to play out? And the way that people behave, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So look for those and stand your ground on this. It's being comfortable to say no. And that's actually what makes the difference, that integrity as well, isn't it, around your offering?
Right. Oh, I wanted to say it's been a great indicator. Like, the people that are great at taking on us as their recruiters, they're also great at hiring and treat their staff well. But the clients that have been really difficult to get on board, that have questions they want to negotiate and they don't want to sign, and question about that and question about, they're terrible at hiring and they don't treat their staff well either. So that's been a great indicator. But everybody that loves working with us, they treat their staff well too.
Right. And this is, just to add to people listening, this is about what we talk about, really finding your avatar client and understanding that avatar client.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
being confident to work, like you're saying, only with the avatar clients. And if other people don't come into play, and you will have these things that you will have as your sort of markers, if you like, of whether they are that, yours being certain things like the kickoff meeting, they must work with us for 1 hour. There'll be a criteria that you will set, which is actually, is this client an avatar client? And not every client is an avatar client. This is so important, isn't it? And standing on that principle and saying no, and then keeping yourself available for those clients, because there's certainly plenty out there, and right now even more than ever. And that, touch wood, I know we don't know what is coming in the future, but now is the absolute opportunity for people to develop their business and to scale it and grow it. So, Jan, thank you so much. And I really hope that you have walked away believing you can do the same, because Jan has explained this to you. This is simple. Part of this, he was saying, is find somebody who has done this for you before. Find a coach, find somebody who has done this, reach out, help them. Because as he's saying, the difference that it makes for them, let's be honest, in terms of the revenue change, if Jan, once he's hitting that 100K, which he will be, as is a massive difference. Yeah, it could take you 2 years to do it, but actually it's pretty, do you want the pain and do you want the time to do that on your own? So Jan, passing words, thank you so much. You've been superb. You've shared so many insights there in terms of the difference that it makes just on that, changing your model and changing your systems and putting those infrastructures in place. So we will be back, or I will be back next week with another guest. So thank you all for watching this week. Have a fabulous week. Jan, thanks so much again.
You're
And
welcome. Bye bye.
we'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.